Good afternoon and thank you for keeping it your home of Untold Stories TV47. This is News Now and it starts right now with me, Grace Kuria-Kanja. Now, President William Ruto says his government will do what it takes to ensure innovators are empowered so that they can earn from their innovations. He was speaking at the KICC during a public exhibition of locally manufactured health products meant to enhance UHC for all.
Essential medicines list will be manufactured and available locally. We will work with you and all the other stakeholders to coordinate activities among financiers, industry, and technical providers to reduce transaction costs, ensure critical investment in system enablers, and support manufacturers in dealing with various requests for assistance. Coordination across the country will ensure diversified supply and a viable market for new products. Furthermore, the Government of Kenya will support the establishment and strengthening of the requisite regulatory and policy framework to facilitate the achievement of this commitment. Last week in Cabinet, Minister here brought the necessary legislation that is going to provide greater space and expertise for the Pharmaceutical and Poisons Board that registers drugs and all the other pharmaceutical products that are available locally and even globally, to make it a much more fit-for-purpose vehicle to facilitate this transformation. My administration will also ensure that we work through regional initiatives and agencies to support local manufacturers to achieve the World Health Organization's good manufacturing practice standards, to not only produce for Kenya, but also open up the market for the export of products outside the region and all the way into the continent. Infrastructuring local manufacturing for increased access and affordability of health products and technologies, job creation and economic growth for Kenya, my administration commits to increase tariff lines for imported health products and technologies as outlined in the East Africa Community Common External Tariff of 2017. We will also adequately cater for this and closely linked products, but reduce ambiguities and avoid hindrance to market access. The government will also set aside infrastructure, including land. In fact, we are in the process of identifying the former land that belonged to Del Monte in Murang'a. I have discussed with the county government of Murang'a. They have set aside 500 acres for a special economic zone, 200 of which will be made specifically for pharmaceutical companies. This will be land that will be made available with some measure of good infrastructure and an ecosystem of policies and fiscal incentives to ensure that you can set up camp easily and be able to access not just the local market, but provide avenues for you to access the international market as well. And to ensure maximum impact, the government will provide guidance on the priority products to be manufactured within the villages in line with the implementation of the Universal Health Coverage Essential Benefits Package. We will strengthen research, development, and innovation by increasing financing for clinical trials at the Kenya Medical Research Institute right here in Kenya. This will boost research and commercialization of health products and technologies through Biovacs, and I see the MD is right here, Limited, and contract manufacturing opportunities with local manufacturers. My administration also, if you looked at the budget critically, we have also increased incentives around the space of manufacture of pharmaceutical products. We have removed taxes and other requirements on manufacturing of animal vaccine, of human vaccine, and the whole manufacturing of pharmaceutical products space.
Right, President William Ruto there at the Health Technologies Expo at KICC, where he was actually live just a few minutes ago. Let's move on now, and televangelist Ezekiel Odero has denied having ties with Pastor Paul Mackenzie, who was largely at the center of the Shakahola deaths. While appearing before an ad hoc committee of the Senate probing the Shakahola deaths, Ezekiel said his interaction with Mackenzie was back in the day when he wanted to purchase a television station for his evangelical ministry. Let's now go live to the Senate and listen to him. He's actually the one addressing or speaking right now. Let's listen.
Punished, innocent. Let us look for the culprit or the guilty, so that it should not be seen as Ezekiel, not the regulation. Okay, I'm not a billionaire because I don't own anything, plus this watch and my vest. And I thank God for that grace. I thank God for that grace. I'm not a billionaire, but New Life is trying to do what it can. The podium, I said there were many, but
yes.
The podium used to give prophecies on things like elections, who will win. This one is all over the world, but what matters is the political condition and the environment in a certain country. It can inflame, it can explode or cause political explosion.
Yes.
After the election, when somebody gives that prophecy. I think this one should be guided by the preachers themselves and see, when you give such a prophecy, the aftermath, what happens next? So wisdom is required on how we give our prophecies depending on the political situation of a country.
Yes.
Because even if you don't do it in Kenya, a preacher, I can remember when did we hold our election? Last year.
Yes, yeah.
Before our election, even a preacher from outside Kenya came and he put on the flag of Kenya and he said, this will become the president of Kenya. So when we handle this, sobriety and carefulness, what is the political environment of this country? So that we don't ban the country tomorrow. That's what we require. You attended the burials of Shakahola victims, not from, okay. And Honorable Senator, a good senator in our country, and I thank God for his contribution, immense contribution towards the development of our country and the governance, saying it is presumed your attendance to those burials, I've put it clear, I've never attended.
Yes.
And when we talk about this boy, Mangi, if Mangi said, Chair, Pastor Ezekiel presided over the burial of my father, because when that person was dying and being buried and it is said Pastor Ezekiel presided, Mangi was there. Mangi was a witness. Mangi has never talked about Pastor Ezekiel. Why should we drag his name in a place where even a young boy who cannot be coached because of...
Right, televangelist Ezekiel Odero there, appearing live from the Senate before an ad hoc committee that is probing the Shakahola deaths. Let's move on. And UDA allied legislators in the Kenya Kwanza coalition have defended Party Secretary General Cleophas Malala from an ouster, saying they have confidence in his leadership. The legislators were responding to threats by Kimilili MP Didmas Baraza, who threatened to lead Malala's ouster for disrespecting Prime One, CS Musalia Mudavadi, and National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula by telling them to fold their parties and join UDA. Now, the leaders filled Malala for being instrumental in popularizing the ruling party.
We as members of UDA have a lot of confidence in the Secretary General, Senator Cleophas Malala, and the top leadership of our party. We want to tell any member of the UDA who is dissatisfied with any party decision to seek redress through the appropriate structures of the party. There isn't a national governing council where he organized an event of its kind that revitalized the UDA as the largest party in Kenya and the party of the future. Is a milestone that we as members of that party, we all celebrated, and the Kenyans and the world saw for itself.
And we are happy for the first time UDA, since Secretary General Cleophas Malala was appointed to the office, with the confidence of His Excellency the President, who is the party leader, Dr. William Ruto, the party has gained life. For the first time, the popularity rate of UDA is growing from glory to glory. And we don't have any doubt about him. He has defended the party where need be. Even the recent, for the people and media, you were there. You saw how well organized, colorful, meticulously planned, with the eye of a military marksman, the way the Secretary General of UDA, Senator Cleophas Malala.
Right, and we're due for a break here on TV47 News Now. Stay with us.
Can you hear me? Can you get me loud and clear? Wamepata signal.
Right, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the Ministry of Education has released the 2024 academic calendar for pre-primary, primary, secondary and teacher training colleges. In a letter to the county director, next year, term 1 and 2 will go on for 13 weeks and 14 weeks respectively, with a 3-day break. Learners will be in school for 9 weeks in the third term before proceeding for a 10-week holiday in December. The KPRCA and KCPE will be as from the 28th October to the 31st of October. Meanwhile, KCSE examinations will be set as from the 4th of November to the 22nd November.
The President, to verify this, they refuse to make matters worse. Some of them are our spiritual father.
Let's take you to Meru now, where Governor Kawira Mwangaza is now seeking the Senate's intervention in mediating the widening rift with the members of County Assembly. Kawira, in a letter to Senate Speaker Amason Kingi, noted that she reconciled with the MCAs after last year's failed impeachment attempt and that they have been working cordially until recently when the cracks began to reappear. She stated that having been elected to the county's top seat on an independent ticket, she does not necessarily have any MCAs allied to her pushing the administration's agenda in the assembly. The governor went ahead to allege that both the Assembly majority and minority parties have since held meetings during which they have reached a consensus to withdraw their support for her and push for a second ouster attempt. And the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya has opposed the push for the amendment of the Kenya Drug Authority Bill of 2023, saying if passed, Kenyans will be at risk of inappropriate access to prescription medicines. The society has rejected the proposed removal of veterinary medicines regulation by KDA, saying this will prevent export of animal products and medicines. The pharmacists have equally rejected the move to have pharmaceutical technicians spearhead wholesaling and distribution of medicines and medical products, saying the technicians are inadequately trained to handle the task at hand.
50 million, a project not a technical representative license. The person who is responsible for ensuring the right medicine enters into the country from the importer or wholesaler or distributor, that license now is being issued to an under-trained pharmaceutical technician. Yeah? In this country, they are called paralegals, and that's why we are here today at APSIA, the apex body of professionals, to just throw in our weight and say that we need to separate those two.
If it is on our veterinary products, veterinary medicines, when we inject those animals with those drugs, they don't work, they remain as residues. Now, over the last 6 months, Kenya has started exporting a lot of its beef and a lot of its fish. We are exporting a lot of beef to the Middle East countries. And those countries are normally very strict. They are going to look at what we call the residual levels of any antimicrobials or any other drugs in those export products.
Drugs like guns, they are very dangerous in the wrong hands. I repeat, drugs are like guns and they are very dangerous in the wrong hand. Imagine everybody in the street walking about with a gun. What happens? I think you all know what happens in the US today. I'm sure you President, you know. Guys, they walk into the and then, so you can imagine, you're doing the same thing with medicines. You're going through throwing medicine right, left, and center. People are getting killed, they're getting raped, that is what we need to remember. Drugs are very dangerous in the wrong hands. They need to be given, allowed to only people who understand them, who deal with them properly, and who will give it to patients when they need them in the quantities that they need them.
And a family from the Vikobani Meritini area of Mombasa County has been forced to move from their home of more than 10 years after a gang of armed youths attacked them on Thursday night. The family members, who have been fearing for their lives, speculate that the attack is due to the border dispute that they have with their neighbor, who 2 weeks ago had threatened them with a gun. The police had, however, managed to confiscate the gun from him. While the investigation against him continues, the family adds that they will be compelled to rent a home until the dispute is resolved and action taken against their neighbor for terrorizing them in their own home.
Jioni kama saa moja nikiwa nimetulia hapa kwa nyumba pamoja mimi na bibi na watoto wangu wawili, niliona watu wameingia kutoka kwa upande wake, ambayo ni vijana ambayo ni kama guns, wamebeba mashete, mapanga na marungu. Wakaingia kwa geti yangu, wakaanza kupiga geti. 10 wakaanza kupiga geti, 10 wakaanza kubomoa ukuta na 10 wakanielekea kwa nyumba.
Hivyo mimi ninaomba haki Mungu tu aweze kutoa njia na aweze kuingilia, na haki tu mtusaidie, kwa sababu haki sasa maisha ni magumu. Hata hivyo mimi nina vijana, nina wasichana, nina watoto wadogo, ninaenda kurentisha nyumba, itabidi sasa tukae pamoja, unga ndio hii, maisha yamekuwa magumu.
Mtu ni kama kila mtu anamwogopa. Ukienda kwa chief, ukienda kwa ndio, ukienda kwa mtu yote, kwa sababu nimeripeti huko kote mpaka Changamwe, lakini kila mtu anakaa kama anamwogopa. Hata sasa tunaongea hivyo, bado wako huru, anatembea, asani tisia na bunduki, asani tumia ngani, lakini hakuna mtu amemchukulia hatua ama kuniambia nitachukua hatua gani. Kwa hivyo kwa usalama wangu nimebidi, hata kama hii sehemu nilinunua, kwa usalama wangu na watoto kwanza nitoke. Unapoona hapa ndio nahama.
And following the rise in interest charged on loans occasioned by the review on CBK lending rates to commercial banks, Baraka Yetu's Sacco chairman Isaac Gitonga has announced plans of restructuring customers' loans. He has urged Kenyans to adopt a culture of saving to protect themselves from unpredictably fluctuating economic conditions. The Sacco, which targets small, medium enterprises, is focused on introducing customer-based need products and leveraging on technology as a way of staying afloat in the competitive market. According to the Sacco's CEO Thomas Osoro, they target to empower women groups and small income members and incorporate the government's bottom-up economic model through women groups. Osoro was speaking during the Sacco's 20th anniversary celebrations held yesterday in Nairobi.
We have come up with measures to make sure that our members, the effect is not that much. And what we are doing is that we are personalizing, we are customizing our products based on the members' needs and also considering the current situations. So loans which are not performing, there's a way that we are speaking with the members, trying to restructure them and trying to advise them accordingly, giving them advice, because people are affected. They are affected actually psychologically and even emotionally, and it ends up also affecting their performance in terms of the loan repayment. So as a society, we are open enough to make sure that we cushion them by coming up with ways to cushion them, maybe restructuring the loans, trying to advise them to take a different approach or even change their businesses or do something that will be able to sustain them during this period. So as a society, we are very open and we are realistic on that, and we are using different methods to make sure that we lessen the burden.
There are different strategies in place, more especially we know the economy is hard, but as a society we want to leverage on technology, on ICT, and ensuring that we give members options to keep them afloat in terms of accessing services and also doing their daily transaction with the society whenever they are. We also made a robust investment in the same aspect, ensuring that our Sacco is safe against any threats and to ensure that we compliant with the regulations as laid down.
To the world of sports now, and KCB Rugby Football Club backs coach Mariko Mashila has urged their players to be wary of Kenya Harlequin when they face off against each other in the flood-lit rugby tournament this weekend at the Impala grounds. KCB will be on a quest to defend the title when they play against Harlequin in their opening fixture. However, according to Mariko, their opponents had a stellar performance towards the end of the last season, and it is a team that has found its rhythm, plus pose a threat to their title ambitions. Both ambitions have improved their squads ahead of the fixture, with Harlequin making 11 mid-season transfers, including Ian Jenga, Elkins Musonye, among others, while KCB signed Willite Mususi and Nick Okulo, respectively. A win for the Bankers will set them up against the winners of the match between Menengai Oilers and host Impala in the second match of the tournament.
As defending champions, you obviously have a target on your back. So I think one game at a time, knockout, so you can't afford to snooze. I think we just have to play our structures first. Then, because we've not played them, we've not seen them play. If you're going by the previous season, they were improving as games went by. As for their new signings, should add a bit of oomph into the side.
I'm feeling excited at the moment. It's my